I go on the first exit ramp and I give it the beans in second gear and just kind of ramp into it, and the front wheels just start coming off the ground. I find that the coolest cars are usually in the most unexpected places. And this one was in Des Moines, Iowa. Out of all the places, whenever I tell people I go to Des Moines to film cars a lot, they kind of don't believe me. And they go, why would you go there? It's the middle of nowhere. It's a farm town. What could possibly be there? Well, there's really talented fabricators, as you can imagine, with the drag racing scene out in the Midwest. It's always really great. But there's this one shop out there that I'm really, really proud to call my friends, called Offline Performance. They got really big, building really fast Subarus out of all things. And they had this kind of notorious RSTI car that would race in cash days at street race and everything and just mop up the floor half the time. So they started their own shop. It got really great, it got bigger, and it's by far one of the nicest car shops I've ever seen. It's beautiful, it's huge and great, and the employees are all nice. And one year they invited me to come to an open house party. So they're kind of showing everybody the new shop. It got refurbished, everything's great. And they threw me the keys to a salvage title GT86 and said, do whatever you want. We know you don't drink, so give everybody ride-alongs and drift all night. I said, do I need to pay for the tires? They go, nope. So I just gave drift ride-alongs for 9 hours straight almost. And now it's become a tradition to always go to this shop and give people ride-alongs every year at this open house party. But the context involved with that is, typically when I come visit, they line up car reviews for me or cars to film, because there's always something new coming through the shop. But their main fabricator, Eric, who in my opinion is a genius, and he won't admit it, but he's incredibly talented, has a turbo Hayabusa swapped smart car. And he had been working on this for a little while, and it kind of had some rumors going around that it was going to be crazy. And then finally, my friend Grayson from Off the Line sent me a video clip of this thing ripping down the street, and I had to go see it. I immediately asked, when can I come? When can I fly there? When can I either ride or drive in this thing? At this point, I just wanted to film it because it was so hysterically goofy and fast on camera. And the Hayabusa smart car swap is nothing new. It's been done for over a decade, and it always had those old school YouTube videos of smart car beats GTR or whatever it is. But this had a turbo on it too, which is pretty radical. Custom axles. It's essentially sprocket driven, doesn't have a reverse in it. It still has the chain. It's chain driven. So it's really fascinating that they use the Hayabusa transmission, but it's backwards, which gets the rear wheels to go. So they go, just give it a month or so, then show up, do it while you're here at the open house party. I go, sounds great. Fly in, the car's ready to go. Eric has it turned basically all the way down for me to try, because he goes, David, when you drive this on high boost, it's just not fun. He goes, it's not fun. The whole chassis will twist. And so essentially we turned it all the way down, and even all the way down, it was 300 wheel horsepower in a smart car, and you're revving to 11,000 RPM. The biggest thing about it is the sound. It's weird seeing this thing fly by, and it sounds like a motorcycle at peak RPM. Oh, it's amazing! But I get in the car, I get used to it, I put on my seatbelt, I look down, and then there's the shifter. But since the transmission is backwards, if you've ever driven a sequential gearbox, typically you pull this way to upshift and then push that way to downshift. Well, since the transmission was backwards, you pushed up to upshift and pulled back to downshift. So that was a weird thing, but you would clutch in, just like a bike. When you squeeze that clutch and let off, you just drive it the exact same way. So it's very weird at first, and I made it very clear in the video, like, hey, it's gonna take me a second. I drive it around, I put it around for about, I'd say, 5 minutes, and I start warming up to it. I go on the first exit ramp, and I give it the beans in second gear and just kind of ramp into it, and the front wheels just start coming off the ground. And I'm like, oh, it's like that. So I realized that, okay, I'm all the way here. I came all the way to Iowa. I have to get the full experience. So I just keep kind of building up to it to get the full thing. I just remember Eric going, hey man, you need to hit redline at least once. Like, you have to. And in the first pulls, I thought I was hitting redline, but I was only at 9,000 RPM. I had 2,000 to go, which might not sound like a lot, but in that car, it's a lot because it's flexing and twisting and popping up and down and suspension's going wild, right? It squatted really well and it had these itty bitty drag radials. I mean, the smallest wheel and tire setup for a drag car I've ever seen. And it hooked every single time. It didn't spin, it just went. And it just made it this really crazy experience. But finally, I see my SD cards running out. I don't have much time left. I'm like, okay, I could go all the way back. I could reevaluate the situation, go out and do more pulls. I'm like, you know what? I got a minute. Let's go for it. Go on to the exit ramp and just give all the beans until I hit rev limiter, just to make sure I hit the number. And it was wild. And I just remember watching the footage afterwards, and you just see me doing this. When you're in the moment and you're banging the gears, you're so focused on not crashing that you don't realize like how much is going on. And probably one of my favorite clips of the video is that I'm next to a semi truck and the camera's aimed at me, semi truck's right here, and I get on it, and that really shows how fast this thing is because the truck's just gone. Like, as soon as you get on it. And nothing was more satisfying than cruising a smart car on the highway and people double taking and trying to figure out what was happening. Because you see a smart car, you know it's going to be slow. You know it's not made for speed or anything. But the fact is, the car was very deceptive. Like, even with the drag radials and everything else, they were still pretty close to the factory tire size. And this car now is kind of a local legend, and it's nicknamed Milk Jug because it's white and black, and it is always such a good time to see it. The only downside about Milk Jug, I would say, is that since it's such a short wheelbase, the axles that are custom made, I believe, by Drive Shaft Shop, are angled like this to make it. So you basically have all the assembly for the drivetrain, and then they kind of go downwards like this and then out like that. So they kind of have to have the mercy. I know he's broken a million of them. Other than that, the car has been surprisingly reliable. And I think it's because of Eric's incredible fabrication skill. And at the same time, I really got to see Eric work at Off the Line Performance when we did my Hellcat Red Eye Magnum build with the wagon. There were so many situations that we thought, it's over. We're not going to make it. And Eric would come by, look at it and go, I got it. Come back in 10 minutes, welded a new bracket, welded a new exhaust, welded a new radiator bracket. Whatever you needed, he could do it. And he would do it basically on the spot, put in his headphones and get it done. It's people like Eric who really push the limit of the aftermarket and really try new things where kits don't exist, and he just makes it happen. And it's really neat to see people that talented build something really gnarly, really cool, and of course, really fast.
Successful car purchasing is all about knowing your buying power and being able to move quickly, and the best way to do that is getting pre-qualified with Premier Financial Services. Call one of these numbers, speak to one of their representatives, fill out their application, and then you'll know exactly how much car you can buy. You'll approach a seller, tell them you're already qualified, you've got your simple lease set up from Premier Financial, and you'll be able to close very, very quickly. That's why Premier is one of the most powerful partners in the world of exotic car financing, and that's why I turn to them every time I go out and try to buy something crazy.